I am Megan Wilson, 34 years old, and I never thought a Christmas party could shatter my family's facade forever. The fake smiles and holiday cheers hid the truth they had stolen from me years ago, and I was finally ready to strike back. After 6 years away, I returned with a plan armed with evidence of their betrayal, expecting the perfect moment to expose them. Instead, I faced the ultimate slap in the face that ignited everything. Everyone got gifts but me. Mom laughed, "Oh, we forgot you." They expected tears. I smiled. "It's okay, look what I got myself." The room fell silent when they saw it. Before I get to my story, I want to know what time you're listening and what city you're in. I'm happy to know how far my story spreads. My family had always dismissed me, the youngest and only daughter in our suburban Denver home, while my brothers were praised for every step my efforts were ignored. But the real knife came at 16 when Grandma left me a trust fund for college, $100,000. My parents secretly drained it to pay for my eldest brother's medical school, lying that the fund was tiny and only covered basics. I scraped by with jobs and loans, building my fintech startup in Las Vegas from nothing, a fraud detection app that sold for $650 million, netting me $250 million after shares and taxes. They never knew. When Mom called inviting me to the party, her voice too eager, I saw my chance. I prepared lavish gifts to lure them in, but carried something sharper: legal documents proving the theft. As the evening unfolded, their greed surfaced. They even hinted at needing my help with Dad's failing business. At gift time, their oversight handed me the trigger. Mom's laughed loudly. My brother joined in. I faintly and said, "It's okay. I didn't forget you." But when they opened my present, their smiles instantly faded. Growing up in suburban Denver was a constant reminder of where I stood in the family pecking order. As the youngest of 3 and the only girl, I watched my parents pour everything into my 2 older brothers while treating me like an afterthought. Our house in the quiet neighborhoods near the foothills was filled with their trophies and praise, but my space felt empty. My parents, Donna and Gary, set sky-high standards for all of us, but for me those standards were walls I could never climb. My eldest brother, Brandon, was their pride and joy. He followed Dad's advice to pursue medicine and got into a top program right out of high school. They celebrated his every milestone with family outings to the Rockies or dinners at fancy spots downtown. Justin, the middle one, showed early knack for business, starting a small venture in college that my parents funded without hesitation. They framed his first profit report and hung it in the living room like a masterpiece. Me, I was always the one chasing shadows. From elementary school on, I excelled in math and coding clubs, but it never registered. At 12, I won a regional math competition, rushing home with my certificate. Donna glanced at it while prepping dinner for Justin's business pitch practice. "That's cute, Megan," she said, not even pausing. Gary nodded from the couch, absorbed in Brandon's latest med school application updates. "Keep trying, kid." No party, no frame, just a pat on the back that felt like dismissal. It got worse in high school. While Brandon got a new car for his acceptance to med school and Justin a startup loan for his ideas, I grinded through advanced classes alone. Teachers praised my potential in tech, but at home it was, "Why can't you be more like your brothers?" Brandon never slacked and Justin's already making money. I internalized it, pushing harder to prove myself, but the comparisons chipped away at me. Then came the betrayal that changed everything. At 16, Grandma passed away. She was the one person who saw me clearly, always encouraging my dreams. In her will, she left me a trust fund specifically for college, $100,000, enough for a top school without debt. I was thrilled, imagining it as my ticket out. But when the papers came, Donna and Gary sat me down. "The fund's smaller than we thought," Donna explained, her voice steady. "Only about $20,000 after fees, enough for community college or state school basics." Gary added, "We'll help with the rest if you pick something practical." I believed them. What choice did I have? So I applied to scholarships aggressively, landing a partial one at Columbia for computer science. To cover gaps, I worked 3 part-time jobs: waitressing at a diner near Coors Field, tutoring math after school, and stocking shelves at a local store on weekends. Weekends meant no social life. I studied in the back of the diner during breaks, surviving on coffee and determination. Loans piled up $50,000 by graduation, while I watched Brandon sail through med school debt-free and Justin expand his business with family backing. After Columbia, I moved to Las Vegas for an entry-level tech job, craving distance from Denver's suffocating expectations. The dry desert air felt like a fresh start, far from the snowy foothills. Communication dwindled to holiday cards and rare calls, always centered on my brother's wins, Brandon's residency, Justin's new office. They never asked about my struggles, the 80-hour weeks coding in a cramped apartment near the strip eating ramen to pay off loans, or the rejections from early investors who doubted a young woman in fintech. But I persisted, launching my startup, a fraud detection app that used AI to spot financial irregularities in real time. It started small, bootstrapped with my savings, but caught on with banks facing rising scams. Within 4 years, it secured major clients like credit unions and online lenders. The breakthrough came last year. A big tech firm acquired it for $650 million. After taxes and sharing equity with my team, I netted $250 million. With that, I founded the Wilson Foundation, focused on helping women recover from financial fraud, providing legal aid and startup grants. For years, I buried the hurt, focusing on building my life. But 2 years ago, curiosity led me to audit my finances deeply. I hired a financial advisor to review old records, including Grandma's estate. That's when the truth exploded. The trust fund was indeed $100,000, untouched by fees. Bank statements showed Donna and Gary had withdrawn it all shortly after Grandma's death, transferring it directly to Brandon's tuition account at his med school. Emails between them and the trustee, a family friend, confirmed the lie. "Tell Megan it's smaller. She'll understand," Donna wrote. Gary replied, "Better for the family this way. Brandon needs it more." The advisor laid it out. It was breach of fiduciary duty, potentially fraud, since they were custodians under state law. Rage hit me like a Vegas heat wave. I paced my condo overlooking the strip, fists clenched, realizing how their theft had forced my hardships. The jobs, the debt, the isolation, it all stemmed from that deception. They robbed my future to boost Brandon's, then gaslit me into thinking it was fate. In that moment, something snapped. I wasn't the overlooked sister anymore. I was a woman with power and proof. No more waiting for apologies that would never come. I decided then I'd use their invitation to the Christmas party as the stage for justice. The evidence folder grew, copies of statements, emails, even a timeline from the advisor. As I prepared, anger fueled my resolve, turning pain into a sharpened blade. This wasn't just revenge, it was reclaiming what was mine, and they had no idea what was coming. 2 months ago, my mother Donna called out of the blue, her voice dripping with a warmth I hadn't heard in years. "Megan, we're having a big Christmas party at the house this year," she said, almost too enthusiastic. "Your brothers will be there, the kids, even Aunt Pamela. We'd love to see you." The invitation caught me off guard, stirring a mix of suspicion and opportunity. After 6 years of near silence, why now? My gut screamed. It wasn't about family love. Dad's real estate business had been tanking, rumors of debts floating through old Denver contacts. But I played along, my voice steady. "Sure, Mom, I'll come." As I hung up the evidence folder on my desk, bank statements, emails, timelines from Grandma's trust felt heavier. This was my shot to turn their lie into their undoing. I didn't waste time. I called my lawyer friend Alex Carter, a sharp litigator I'd met during a fraud case my startup tackled in Vegas. Over coffee at a strip cafe, I laid out the betrayal, the $100,000 trust fund stolen for Brandon's tuition, the lies about its size, the years I clawed through debt. Alex's eyes narrowed as he flipped through the documents. "This is textbook breach of fiduciary duty," he said. "With these statements and emails, you've got a solid case for fraud. Colorado law gives you time since you just discovered it." He agreed to dig deeper, pulling bank records and trustee correspondence to tighten the noose. By the next week, he had a full dossier, signed withdrawals by Donna and Gary, an email from Gary to the trustee saying, "Make sure Megan thinks it's gone." Every page fueled my fire. The plan took shape. I'd go to the party, play the dutiful daughter, and let their guard drop. Then during gift time, I'd spring the trap, reveal my success to soften them up, then hit with the lawsuit papers exposing their theft in front of everyone, Aunt Pamela included. Alex warned it could get messy, but I wanted messy. They'd lied to me for 18 years. I wanted their shame public, their reputation in Denver's tight-knit circles ruined. To sell the act, I needed gifts, lavish ones to mirror their greed. For Donna, I picked a $4,000 pearl necklace, a nod to Grandma's favorite jewelry she'd once promised me. The irony wasn't lost on me, buying her what she stole my chance to have. For Gary, a $6,000 vintage Rolex, a jab at the time they took from my future. For Brandon and his wife, Angela, I booked a $15,000 Hawaii trip for their family. His kids, Kayla and Taylor, would love it, but it screamed of the luxury he'd gained at my expense. For Justin, whose business ventures always got Dad's cash, I prepared a $40,000 investment check, framed as support but laced with the sting of their neglect. Each gift was wrapped with care, a glittering mask for the bomb I'd drop. I spent weeks planning with Alex, rehearsing every step. He drafted the lawsuit papers, ready to file the moment I gave the word. We mapped out the reveal. I'd show a video of my Vegas office, my fintech deal, my ocean view home to set the stage. Then, when they least expected it, I'd pull out the dossier naming names and dates. Alex even suggested recording the moment discreetly for court leverage, but I wanted their faces to burn in real time, no camera needed. The week before Christmas, I booked a first-class flight from Vegas to Denver. As the plane descended, the Rockies loomed outside, a stark reminder of the home I'd fled. At Denver International, I picked up a rented Mercedes sedan, a sleek black model that screamed success. Loading the wrapped gifts into the trunk, I felt a surge of control. This wasn't the broke teenager they'd dismissed. This was Megan Wilson, armed and ready. The drive from the airport took an hour along I-70, the familiar peaks of the Rockies flashing by. I passed the exit for Red Rocks Amphitheater, where I'd gone to concerts as a kid dreaming of a bigger life. The turnoff to our old suburb came up lined with holiday lights and manicured lawns. My parents' house, a sprawling two-story with a stone facade, hadn't changed, still the picture of upper-middle-class perfection hiding the rot inside. As I pulled into the driveway behind Brandon's Audi and Justin's pickup, my pulse quickened. The gifts sat heavy in the trunk, but the dossier in my bag felt heavier. I adjusted my coat, checked the folder one last time, and stepped out. The cold Denver air hit my face, but inside, I was burning. I'd spent years building my empire, not for their approval, but for this moment to make them face what they'd done. As I walked up the path, the doorbell within reach, I gripped the folder tighter. The trap was set, and they had no idea the reckoning waiting on the other side of that door. I rang the doorbell, the familiar chime echoing through my parents' Denver home. The door swung open, and my mother, Donna, stood there in a red holiday dress, her smile polished but thin. "Megan," she said, her tone more formal than warm. "You made it." No hug, just a quick nod as she stepped aside. I clutched the stack of wrapped gifts, the dossier tucked in my bag, and forced a smile. "Wouldn't miss it, Mom." My father, Gary, appeared from the living room, his tie loose, looking older than I remembered. "Good to see you, kid," he said, offering a stiff handshake. His eyes flicked to the Mercedes outside. "Nice car. Expensive." "Rental," I replied, keeping it light. The foyer smelled of pine and roasted turkey, the house decked out with tasteful wreaths and twinkling lights, no tacky inflatables for the Wilsons. Laughter spilled from the living room, and my eldest brother Brandon emerged with his wife Angela. She gave a polite wave, her designer sweater screaming suburban wealth. Their daughters, Kayla and Taylor, peeked out curious. "Aunt Megan," Kayla chirped, clearly coached. Brandon gave a half smile. "Vegas treating you well, sis." His tone carried a hint of sizing me up. "Pretty well," I said, dodging details. Justin, my other brother, sauntered in with a beer, his casual grin more genuine but still distant. "Long time, Megan," he said, offering a quick hug. Aunt Pamela, Mom's cousin, bustled over, her loud laugh cutting through. "Well, look who's back from the desert," she exclaimed, her earrings jangling. I nodded, keeping my cool, but their half-hearted welcomes felt like a prelude to something colder. I set the gifts under the towering Christmas tree, their shiny papers standing out against the coordinated red and gold packages. The living room buzzed with extended family, cousins, neighbors, but the focus stayed on Brandon's latest hospital promotion and Justin's new business deal. Dinner was served in the dining room, the long mahogany table set with Mom's heirloom china. Donna had outdone herself, turkey, mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce, the works. But the mood was strained, like everyone was playing a part. Conversation swirled around me, not with me. Donna bragged about Brandon's new role as department head, pouring him more wine. "Youngest in the hospital's history," she said, beaming. Angela chimed in about Kayla's ballet recital and Taylor's preschool art award. Gary perked up when Justin mentioned closing a deal for his startup. "That's my boy," he said, clapping Justin's shoulder. I waited for an opening to share my life, but every attempt got drowned out. "I've been working on some big projects too." I started, but Donna cut in. "Oh, Angela, tell Megan about the charity auction you hosted." The dismissal stung, but I bit my tongue, biding my time. Taylor, the 4-year-old, tugged my sleeve during a lull. "Aunt Megan, do you make games in Vegas?" Her big eyes were the only genuine curiosity in the room. I smiled. "Not games, sweetie, software that catches bad guys stealing money." She nodded, impressed. "Like police?" "Kinda," I said, grateful for her warmth. But the adults barely noticed their chatter, locked on my brother's wins. Then came the twist I hadn't expected. After dessert, I excused myself to the kitchen for a glass of water, lingering near the pantry door. Through the crack, I overheard Donna and Gary whispering. "She's got money now, right?" Donna said, her voice low. "That car, her clothes, she could help with the business." Gary grunted. "Yeah, the bank's breathing down my neck. We just need a loan, maybe 50 grand to tide us over. My stomach twisted. They hadn't invited me for family. They wanted a bailout for Dad's failing real estate deals tied to shady loans I'd heard about through old Denver contacts. I slipped back to the table, heart pounding but face calm. This was better than I'd planned. Their greed was the perfect setup for my trap. I leaned toward Gary during a pause. Dad, I heard the market's been tough. Need any help with the business? His eyes lit up too quick. Well, we're managing, but maybe we could talk later. I nodded, feigning concern, but inside I was locking the bait. Let them think I'd opened my wallet, they'd be blindsided when I opened the dossier instead. As dinner wrapped, Donna clapped her hands. Time for gifts, she announced, her voice bright but calculated. The kids squealed, racing to the tree while the adults settled in the living room. I watched Aunt Pamela sip her wine, oblivious to the storm brewing. Brandon and Justin exchanged smirks, probably expecting another round of praise. I adjusted my bag, the dossier's weight grounding me. My gifts sat under the tree, their shiny wrapping hiding the irony. I'd play their game, hand out my presents, let them bask in their greed, then pull the rug out. The kids tore into their packages, first Kayla squealing over a new tablet, Taylor hugging a stuffed unicorn. The adults started exchanging their gifts, laughter filling the room. I sat back, pulse steady, watching the pile shrink. My moment was coming. I caught Donna's eye, her smile smug like she'd already won. She had no clue I was about to flip the script. As the last gifts were handed out, I gripped my bag tighter, ready to spring the trap I'd spent weeks crafting. Donna stood by the Christmas tree, her smile commanding as she took charge of the gift exchange. Kids first, she declared, handing Kayla and Taylor their packages. The girls tore into them, squealing over a coding kit for Kayla and an interactive globe for Taylor. Thanks, Aunt Megan, Taylor chirped, hugging me. I smiled, but my focus was on the adults, their eyes gleaming with anticipation for their own haul. The room buzzed with chatter, cousins, neighbors, Aunt Pamela sipping her wine, oblivious to the storm I was about to unleash. One by one, Donna passed out gifts. Gary got a cashmere scarf from Brandon, Angela a designer purse from Justin. The pile dwindled, wrapping paper piling up, but nothing came my way. My brothers exchanged their gifts, golf gear for Brandon, a fancy pen for Justin. Aunt Pamela handed out gift cards, earning polite thanks. I sat quietly, bag at my side, the dossier's weight steadying me. The oversight was no surprise. I'd expected it. But when the last package was handed out and the tree stood bare, a heavy silence fell. Kayla broke it, her voice small. Where's Aunt Megan's present? All eyes turned to me, some curious, some uncomfortable. Donna let out a sharp laugh. Oh, we forgot you, she said, waving a hand like it was a trivial slip. Justin chuckled, adding, Yeah, Megan, guess you're too hard to shop for. Their laughter cut deep, but I kept my face neutral, heart racing. This was the moment I'd planned for. They expected tears, maybe a scene. Instead, I smiled faintly. It's okay. I didn't forget you, look what I got myself. I pulled out my phone, opened a sleek video, and hit play on the TV screen via AirPlay. The room went quiet as images filled the screen. My Las Vegas office, a modern glass building with my company's logo, Wilson Fraud Detection, blazing across the front. Clips followed of me signing a $650 million acquisition deal, shaking hands with bank CEOs, my Ocean View condo with a rooftop deck. This is my fintech startup, I said calmly. We built AI software to catch financial fraud. It sold last year for $650 million, netting me $250 million after taxes. Gas rippled through the room. Donna's wine glass froze mid-sip. Gary's jaw tightened and Justin's smirk vanished. I swiped to another clip showing the Wilson Foundation's headquarters, where we funded women recovering from financial scams. This is my foundation, I continued, voice steady. We've helped 50 women with legal aid and startup grants, recognized by Inker magazine as a top new charity. Brandon's eyes widened, Angela shifted uncomfortably, and Aunt Pamela muttered, Well, I'll be damned. Their stunned faces were satisfying, but I wasn't done. The real gift was coming. I reached into my bag, pulling out a thick folder. But I have a Christmas gift for you too, Dad, I said, locking eyes with Gary. I slid the dossier across the coffee table, papers spilling out, bank statements, emails, withdrawal records from Grandma's trust. It's a lawsuit for the $100,000 you and Mom stole from my trust fund 18 years ago. The room froze. Donna's smile collapsed, her face paling. You took it for Brandon's tuition. I continued, voice cold. Lied to me about its size, forced me into debt while he got a free ride. I pointed to the documents. These show your withdrawals, your emails to the trustee. Tell Megan it's smaller. You thought I'd never find out. Gary stammered. Megan, let's talk privately. Donna jumped in. You're blowing this out of proportion. But Aunt Pamela's gas cut through her eyes, darting to the papers. Brandon, red-faced, muttered, I didn't know the details, Megan, I swear. Justin stayed silent, avoiding my gaze. No private talks, I said, standing. You stole my future, made me scrape by with loans and 3 jobs while you celebrated Brandon's success. You even planned to use me tonight for Dad's debts. I nodded at Donna. I heard you in the kitchen, 50 grand to tide you over. Their panic was electric. Gary's hands shook, Donna's voice cracked, begging, Megan, please, we're family. But I was done with their excuses. You laughed when you forgot me, I said, grabbing my bag. Now you can laugh at this. I left the dossier on the table, evidence glaring under the Christmas lights. As I walked out, their voices erupted, Donna yelling at Gary, Brandon pleading ignorance, Aunt Pamela demanding answers. I stepped into the cold Denver night, the Mercedes waiting. Their chaos faded behind me, but the fire in my chest burned bright. I'd sprung the trap and there was no going back. As I drove away from the Denver house that Christmas night, the chaos of my family's shouting faded behind the hum of the Mercedes engine. Their faces, Donna's panic, Gary's trembling hands, Brandon's weak denials burned in my mind, but I felt no regret. The dossier I'd left on the table was a ticking bomb, and I was done waiting for apologies that would never come. By the time I reached the airport, I'd already texted Alex, my lawyer, file the lawsuit tomorrow. In January, we submitted the case to Denver's civil court, breach of fiduciary duty and fraud, backed by the ironclad evidence, bank statements, emails, trustee records proving Donna and Gary siphoned my $100,000 trust fund for Brandon's tuition 18 years ago. The process moved fast. By March, the court ruled in my favor. I won back the full $100,000 plus $50,000 in interest and legal fees totaling $150,000. The judge didn't mince words. A deliberate deception against a minor beneficiary. The victory felt clean, final. The fallout was bigger than I'd imagined. A local Denver paper picked up the story. Headlines screamed, prominent family sued for trust fund theft. Gary's real estate business, already teetering, collapsed entirely when clients pulled out, spooked by the scandal. Donna's social standing in their suburban circle evaporated. Her charity board memberships vanished overnight. Brandon faced an ethics review at his hospital, his complicity in knowing about the theft tainting his golden boy reputation. Aunt Pamela, shocked at the party, spread the word to extended family, amplifying their disgrace. Justin sent a text a week later mumbling some half-hearted apology. Didn't know it was that bad, sis. I didn't reply. I blocked their numbers, Donna, Gary, Brandon, Justin, all of them. No more calls, no more guilt trips. I was done. Back in Las Vegas, I threw myself into the Wilson Foundation. We expanded our program, funding 20 more women with legal aid to fight financial fraud, drawing from my own story. My condo overlooking the Strip became my sanctuary, its sleek lines and ocean view vibe a reminder of what I'd built without them. The money from the lawsuit went straight to the foundation, turning their theft into something meaningful. I didn't need their validation anymore. I had my own. Reflecting on it now, I see the lesson clear as day. Family betrayal cuts deepest, but you don't heal by forgiving and forgetting, you heal by facing it head-on with justice. I spent years thinking their dismissal defined me, that I had to prove my worth to them. But their lies, their greed showed me the truth. My value isn't tied to their approval. It's in the empire I built, the lives I'm changing, the strength I found to hold them accountable. They stole my trust fund, my future, but they couldn't steal my resolve. If you're out there wondering if family has crossed, you don't just sit with the hurt. Dig for evidence, bank records, emails, anything concrete. Talk to a lawyer, build your case, and don't let blood ties stop you from demanding what's right. Toxic family will drain you if you let them. Cut those ties and protect your peace. You're worth more than their excuses, and no one gets to define you but you. Thank you for listening to my story. It's not just about revenge, it's about reclaiming what's yours. If this hit home, subscribe, like, and drop a comment with your own story. Have you ever had to stand up to family to find your worth? I want to hear about it. As I stood on my condo's rooftop that spring, the Vegas skyline glittering below, I smiled. The lawsuit was won, their world was in ruins, and I was free. Justice wasn't just served, it was mine to claim, and I'd never look back.
My name is Grace Thompson, and I'm 29 years old. If you asked most people to describe me, they'd say I'm dependable, solid. The kind of woman who remembers birthdays, pays bills on time, and always has an extra charger in her bag just in case. I never thought that being reliable would one day feel like a curse. For 5 years, I built a life with my boyfriend Jimmy. While he was chasing the glare of ring lights and the applause of strangers online, I was the one quietly stitching together the fabric of our future. I was the woman with spreadsheets and a savings account, the one who handled rent while he experimented with photo shoots and brand collaborations. I never minded. To me, that was love balance. I didn't need to shine if it meant he could. He was the energy, the charisma, the spark in every room, and I was content being the anchor in the background. Or maybe I was just naive. That Saturday morning is etched into my memory with a cruel clarity. I was in the kitchen, waiting for the kettle to boil, scrolling through Instagram like I always did. My thumb froze on a post that lit up my feed. At first I thought it was just another silly meme, but then I recognized the photos. On the left a candid shot Jimmy must have taken while I was crouched on the floor fixing a loose cabinet hinge. My hair tied back, no makeup, an old t-shirt that had paint stains on it. Across the image in bold black font, "My girlfriend Grace, 210. My chest tightened as I read the caption beneath. "She's reliable, sure, but too practical. Always planning for the future when I want to live in the moment." The kettle whistled, but the sound felt miles away. My thumb swiped to the next slide. On the right was another woman, Maya, a glossy filtered selfie with her lips pursed, her jawline sculpted by perfect lighting. The caption, "The woman I'm with now, Maya, 10-10. She gets the vibe, the hustle, the art of living on the edge." My breath caught. My heart didn't break in a slow, aching way. It shattered instantly like glass against concrete. It wasn't a breakup text. It wasn't a private conversation. It was a public declaration, a digital guillotine. Jimmy hadn't just left me. He had turned me into a joke. For all his followers, for strangers, for the world. My hands trembled so hard I almost dropped the phone. Every word blurred, but the number 210 burned itself into my mind like a brand. The front door opened, snapping me out of my trance. Jimmy strolled in, humming some tune, his camera bag slung over one shoulder. He set his keys on the counter, smiling like nothing in the world was wrong. "Morning, babe," he said, reaching for the kettle I'd abandoned. Perfect timing. I needed some caffeine before today's shoot. I just stared at him. My arms folded across my chest, the phone lying face up on the counter between us. He finally noticed my silence. His smile faltered. His eyes flicked to the glowing screen, and in that split second, I saw the recognition flash in his gaze. He knew I'd seen it. "The post," I said. My voice didn't even sound like my own, the one you just made. Jimmy's lips curved into something between a smirk and a shrug. "Oh, that relax. It's just a brand collab. A meme. A joke." "A joke!" My voice cracked, my control slipping. "You publicly rated me like I was a failed product review. You told the world I'm a 2 Jimmy. A 2. While you're off flaunting some stranger like she's the prize you finally won." He rolled his eyes, leaning back against the counter with exaggerated calm. "You don't get it, Grace. You never did. You're always wrapped up in plans and budgets and playing safe. Maya understands the hustle. She gets the lifestyle. You're just too stable, too boring." His words hit harder than any physical blow could have. 5 years of loyalty erased with a careless shrug. I felt something inside me shift. Not anger, not even heartbreak, just a cold, startling clarity. "So that's it," I whispered. 5 years and I was just boring." He met my eyes without hesitation, as if the verdict had already been written. "We're on different levels, Grace. Different trajectories. I need someone who fits that. And you're not it. Not anymore." The room was silent, except for the hum of the refrigerator. My throat ached, my eyes burned, but no tears came. I looked at him, really looked, and realized the man in front of me was no longer someone I loved. He was just a stranger who had weaponized my stability against me. "Okay," I said finally, my voice flat, stripped of everything. I walked past him through the hallway and into the living room. I didn't slam the door or scream. I didn't plead or argue. I just needed to start walking away, and I did. In that silence, I knew my life with Jimmy had ended the moment he hit post. And for the first time in years, I had no idea what my next step would be. When people talk about breakups, they imagine tears, fights, late-night calls. My ending with Jimmy wasn't any of those things. It was quiet. The kind of quiet that hums in your ears like static after an explosion. The morning after his little 210 stunt, I stood in the center of our apartment surrounded by echoes. His sneakers kicked off by the door, his cologne still clinging to the hallway. I could almost hear his laugh bouncing off the walls, but it wasn't real. I grabbed a roll of tape, a stack of cardboard boxes, and started. Every t-shirt, every camera lens, every piece of tech he had left sprawled across our place. I packed it away with methodical precision. It wasn't rage driving me. It was something colder, sharper, survival. By noon, the living room looked like a staging area for a move-out. I labeled the boxes with black marker, Jimmy. Not ours, not memories, just his name. The silence pressed in too loud, too heavy. I reached for my phone. His post was still up. Thousands of likes, laughing emojis, comments calling Maya a queen. My face, my tired, unfiltered, imperfect face, immortalized as a punchline. My stomach turned. I opened my photo gallery and scrolled through 5 years of us vacations, dinners, blurry selfies on lazy Sundays. My thumb hesitated, hovering over select all. Do it. With one swipe, I erased them. Deleted every trace. It was like ripping chapters from a book, tearing out the pages where I thought I was loved. Next came Instagram. I searched his profile, Jimmy grinning next to Maya, now their lives curated into a shiny fairy tale. My finger hovered for half a second before I hit block. One by one, I went down the list, his friends, his family, people who had double-tapped that meme as if it were harmless. Block, block, block. Then I deleted the app entirely. It wasn't just about removing him. It was about reclaiming my peace. My life didn't need to exist in his audience anymore. I changed the locks on the apartment that same week. Paid a locksmith extra to come after hours. When the new keys clicked into place, I exhaled for the first time in days. The loneliness was brutal at first. Nights stretched long and silent. The bed felt like an empty canyon. I'd catch myself staring at the door, expecting his keys to jingle his voice to fill the void. But the void stayed. So I filled it with motion. I went walking. For hours sometimes. Past shops I'd never entered, down alleys, painted with murals I'd never noticed. I slipped into coffee shops and sat with nothing but the bitter warmth of a latte and the sound of strangers' conversations. At the gym, I pushed myself until my muscles screamed. The sweat felt like something holy, like I was burning off the humiliation layer by layer. I told no one. I ignored calls from mutual friends. I didn't want pity, didn't want explanations. I wanted silence. Silence was control. Weeks blurred. The sharp sting of betrayal softened into a dull ache, a bruise I carried everywhere. Jimmy's voice stopped haunting the apartment. His shadow grew thinner in my memory. But there was one thing I couldn't shake. 210. 2 out of 10. It was a meme, a stupid caption on a screen, but it echoed in my skull at night. I had given him my loyalty, my stability, my love, and in the end, that was worth a 2. Sometimes I laughed bitterly at the absurdity. Sometimes I clenched my fists until my nails left crescent moons in my palms. But most nights I just lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, whispering to myself, I'll prove him wrong. Not to him, to me. That whisper became my mantra. Because beneath the humiliation, beneath the grief, something else was stirring. Not revenge, not yet, but the beginnings of a life that would no longer belong to Jimmy. 6 months passed. If you had walked into my new apartment, you wouldn't have recognized me as the same woman who once lived in Jimmy's curated world. The place was smaller, tucked into a quieter part of the city, but every corner belonged to me. No ring lights, no clutter of tripods, no echoes of someone else's ambition. Just plants by the window, stacks of books, and a desk where I worked late into the night. I wasn't rich, but I was steady. My job promoted me team lead now, a role I'd secretly been dreaming of, but never dared push for while my energy was spent holding Jimmy's life together. My days fell into a rhythm. Mornings at the gym, evenings at the office, then maybe dinner with old friends I'd reconnected with. For the first time in years, I laughed without forcing it. I bought clothes that made me feel powerful, not just practical. It wasn't a glow-up montage, it was messy. Some nights, I still sat on the edge of my bed, fighting back the echo of 210. But the difference was, I no longer believed it. The irony is, I didn't even have to look for news about Jimmy. It found me. One evening, while I was stirring pasta on the stove, my phone buzzed. A text from Thomas, an old mutual friend. Heard Jimmy's in a rough spot. I stared at the screen, the steam from the pot fogging my glasses. My heartbeat didn't even change. Oh, I typed back. That girl he left you for Maya, total scammer. She drained his savings, maxed his cards, then vanished when her brand got exposed. I set the phone down on the counter and just stood there, spoon in hand, listening to the slow bubble of boiling water. There was no thrill, no victory rush, just a hollow confirmation of something I had already known. Deep down, Jimmy's world was built on smoke and mirrors, and smoke always clears. A week later, another message. You won't believe this. She didn't just ghost him, she stole everything. His money, his gear, even tricked him into handing over a business loan. The guy's broke, totally wiped out. This time my chest tightened, not with pity, but with the sharp sting of memory. I thought about all the nights I'd begged Jimmy to save, about the account I built for our future, the one he once sneered at as boring. Maya had taken him for every cent. The 10-10 vibe left him with nothing but debt and humiliation. I leaned back against the counter, the phone heavy in my hand. My pasta boiled over, hissing against the burner, but I didn't move. For years, Jimmy had treated me like an anchor weighing him down. Now he was adrift, swallowed whole by the very chaos he once glorified. And me, I was still here, solid, whole. I thought I would feel vindicated. I thought I'd laugh. Instead, I just felt done. The story had written its ending without me needing to lift a finger. Later that night, I sat on my balcony, the city glowing beneath me. A cool breeze lifted strands of my hair as I whispered to myself, he was never a 10, and I was never a 2. That quiet certainty settled into my bones. But deep down, I knew it wasn't over. Because people like Jimmy, they don't vanish when their world collapses. They look for lifeboats. And I had been his lifeboat once, foreshadowing he would come looking for me again. It started with a text. The number wasn't saved in my phone, but the message was unmistakable. Hey, Grace, it's me. I know you probably hate me. I deserve that. But I'm going through a lot right now, and I thought maybe you'd understand. I miss our talks. I stared at the screen. The woman I used to be, the one who once built her life around Jimmy's chaos, might have answered, might have offered comfort, but that woman was gone. I deleted the message without replying, blocked the number. Silence. For a week I thought maybe that was it, that Jimmy would move on, find someone else to lean on. But then the calls started not from him, but from others. One evening, my phone lit up with a name I hadn't seen in months, Sarah, one of our old mutual friends. Against my better judgment, I picked up. Grace, she said quickly, skipping hello. Please don't hang up. This is about Jimmy. My jaw tightened. I don't want to hear about Jimmy. He's a mess, Sarah pressed. Maya took everything. His savings, his credit, even the money he borrowed for that so-called studio. He's broke. He has nowhere to go. You know him, Grace. He's not built for this. He needs you. The laugh that slipped out of me wasn't cruel. It was disbelieving. Needs me, Sarah. He made me the punchline of a meme. He told the world I was a 2 out of 10. And now suddenly I'm supposed to be his savior. You don't understand, Sarah pleaded. He regrets it. He knows he screwed up. He says you're the only one who was ever real with him. The only one who... Stop! My voice cut sharper than I expected. Sarah, what happened between Jimmy and me ended months ago. His problems are not mine to solve. There was a pause, then a sigh, heavy with disappointment. I just thought, you're a good person. Maybe you'd forgive him. Being a good person doesn't mean being a doormat, I said softly. Then I ended the call. The silence in my apartment returned, wrapping around me like a shield. But Jimmy wasn't done. The next attempt came through LinkedIn. Of all places, a connection request from his profile, followed by a rambling message about how much he missed me, how lost he felt, how he just wanted to talk. I stared at the words glowing on my laptop screen. They read like they were written by someone drowning, desperate for a hand to pull him up. But all I felt was detachment, like I was watching a stranger. I clicked ignore, marked his message as spam. The old Grace would have broken then. She would have let pity masquerade as love. But now I understood something I hadn't before. Jimmy didn't want me. He wanted the version of me that kept him afloat. And I wasn't that version anymore. Still, I couldn't shake the gnawing certainty. If he was willing to reach me through LinkedIn, there would be more. Desperation never stops at polite requests. And part of me wondered how far would he go before he showed up at my door. It was a Saturday afternoon. Sunlight slanted through the blinds, painting golden stripes across my floor. I was folding laundry, the kind of ordinary task that had become my comfort. Then came the knock. 3 slow raps on the door. I wasn't expecting anyone. My chest tightened as I approached, peering through the peephole. And there he was. Jimmy. But not the polished, preening man who once filled my feed with curated grins and flashy captions. This Jimmy looked small, his hair unkempt, eyes sunken with sleeplessness. In his hands, a cardboard box, sagging at the corners, taped haphazardly. For a moment, I froze. My pulse thundered in my ears. Every instinct screamed to stay silent, to let him stand there until he gave up. But some part of me wanted to see to face what I had already buried. I unlocked the chain and cracked the door just enough. "Grace," he breathed, his voice low, frayed. "Thank God, you're here." I didn't answer. My eyes dropped to the box he held, and my stomach twisted. Inside were pieces of a life I had already erased, an old scarf I'd left in his car, a mug we bought on vacation, scraps of our past. He lifted it slightly, as if it were an offering. "I brought some of your things back. I thought, maybe we could talk." I kept the door half closed, the frame between us like a shield. "Talk about what, Jimmy? About how you humiliated me online, or how you called me boring and disposable?" His face crumpled, shame and desperation flickering across it. "I was stupid. God, Grace. I was so stupid. Maya, she wasn't what I thought. She used me. Took everything. I'm ruined. I don't even know who I am anymore." I let the words hang in the air. His downfall wasn't surprising. It was inevitable. He stepped closer, lowering his voice, trying to coax me. You always knew how to handle life. Finances, plans, everything. You were the smart one. The stable one. I need that, Grace. I need you. Just help me figure things out." A bitter laugh escaped me before I could stop it. "Help you, Jimmy? You rated me a 2 out of 10. A 2. Do you remember that you made me the butt of a joke for strangers to applaud?" His shoulders slumped, and he whispered, "I didn't mean it like that. It was just—" Don't I cut him off. My voice was calm, sharper than it had ever been. "Don't rewrite history. You meant every word. And now you're here because your 10 out of 10 turned out to be a fraud." He flinched. The words hit him the way his meme once hit me. For the first time, I realized how much the power had shifted. He wasn't the man on a pedestal anymore. He was the ghost, clinging to scraps, and I was the one standing in the light. I straightened, meeting his eyes without hesitation. "You know what I learned, Jimmy? I'm not a 2. I was never a 2. I built myself back up, piece by piece, without you, and now I'm a 10 on my own. You're just a reminder of everything I've outgrown." His lips parted, but no words came out, only silence. I pressed the door shut, slow and deliberate, until the latch clicked into place. The sound echoed like the final period at the end of a long, painful sentence. I didn't look back through the peephole. I didn't need to. The past was on the other side of that door, and I was done letting it in. When the door clicked shut, I leaned against it for a moment, listening. Nothing. No pleading, no footsteps shuffling away, no angry knock, just silence. I slid the chain back into place and stood there, my palms pressed to the cool wood. For the first time in years, the silence didn't feel heavy. It felt like peace. I walked back into my apartment. Sunlight spilled across the couch, glinting off the edges of the coffee table. The air smelled faintly of lavender from the candle I'd lit earlier. Everything here was mine, chosen, built, nurtured by me. No borrowed chaos, no hidden ridicule, just me. I thought back to the woman I had been 6 months ago, trembling in the kitchen, staring at a phone screen that told the world I was worth a 210. That woman had curled in on herself, drowning in shame. But the woman standing here now, she wasn't ashamed. She wasn't broken. She had walked through fire and rebuilt herself from the ashes. I sat down on the couch, pulled my knees up, and let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. What Jimmy never understood, what Maya never cared to see, was that stability is not boring. Reliability is not weakness. To show up day after day with love and consistency, that is strength. That is the foundation of every lasting thing. And I was the builder. I always had been. Jimmy thought he'd upgraded to a 10, but all he did was chase an illusion that crumbled in his hands. And me, I had learned the hardest truth of all. I didn't need someone else to rate me. I was a 10 on my own. I glanced toward the door one last time, imagining him still standing there in the hallway, clutching that box of scraps like it could anchor him. But he wasn't my responsibility anymore. He never would be again. I whispered softly into the empty room, not for him, but for myself. "You're a ghost now, and I don't live with ghosts." Outside, the city buzzed with life. Somewhere people were laughing, making plans, falling in love, breaking up. Life was moving on, and so was I. I stood stretched and walked toward the window. Sunlight warmed my face. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like a supporting character in someone else's story. I was the author now, and my story finally was mine to write.